Welcome, dear friend, to a quiet corner of our channel, and thank you, with the most genuine warmth, for choosing to spend your precious time here with us. We have prepared for you a gentle story, one crafted with the sole purpose of being a soft and steady hand to guide you towards a peaceful night's slumber, helping you to drift away with a feeling of profound ease. If, as our journey unfolds, you find a simple comfort in this quiet tale, please do, just before you set your device aside, lend your kindness by liking this story and subscribing to our channel, and perhaps leaving a gentle comment, for it helps our little sanctuary continue to grow. Before we step through the living gate of the Slumbering Apothecary, where the air is scented with chamomile and the very light seems to breathe, we shall first share a moment of gentle breathing to settle your spirit. Now let us invite a deep and true comfort into your being. Settle yourself down much like a cat finding the warmest, sunniest spot in a quiet room. Feel your body grow heavy and sink gently into your mattress, allowing every part of you to feel utterly supported, safe, and held. You might adjust your blankets, pulling them close as if they were a soft, warm hug from an old friend, and let your pillow cradle your head, creating a perfect, cozy nook just for you. This is your own special time, a gentle pilgrimage where the busy thoughts of the day may simply unfurl and drift away, inviting a quiet contentment into your heart, as soft and pervasive as the sweet, warm air within the apothecary's sheltered walls. Let us share a soothing breath together, one that mimics the slow, contented pulse of the somnus petals themselves. Slowly, gently, draw the air in through your nose, imagining it as a clean, soft current, flowing easily and naturally to fill every quiet corner of your being. Then release it just as gently through your mouth, a soft, almost imperceptible sigh of pure relief. With each slow, easy breath, feel your body softening, much like clay in a potter's kind hands, releasing any small knots of tension you might be holding. Imagine the delicate fragrance of night-blooming flowers, the clean scent of damp, warm earth, and the grounding feeling of stillness, hushing the small, lingering noises you might have carried from your day. If perchance your thoughts begin to flutter, like tiny spores dancing in a beam of soft light, that is quite all right, dear one. Simply notice them, allowing them to drift by like wisps of cloud in a pale sky, and then with the gentlest kindness guide your attention back to the steady, peaceful rhythm of your breathing, or to the quiet comfort of my voice. There is nothing left for you to do now, save for listening and allowing the story to carry you into the deep, dreamless rest you so richly deserve. Feel the warmth of the ground rising to meet you, and the gentle, pulsing light inviting your own body into a state of profound relaxation. Now, let us begin our quiet journey into the heart of the Slumbering Apothecary, where the gentle hum of living light and the soft scent of forgotten peace await to guide you into a serene and deeply restful sleep. Chapter 1. The Gentle Gate. It is a funny thing, is it not, how one can seek stillness even when one's life is already quiet. Rowan's days were themselves a study in soft sounds and patient focus, the gentle scrape of a nib on thick parchment and the whisper of ancient maps unrolling. Yet a deeper quiet called to them, a silence that did not just exist in the absence of noise, but one that lived and breathed. And so they had walked, not away from anything, but towards a feeling whispered on the wind, a rumor of a place called the Slumbering Apothecary. The path, if one could call it that, was more a suggestion than a trail, a slight parting in the tall, soft grasses that tickled at the knees. The air itself began to change as Rowan walked, a slow, gentle transformation. It grew warmer, as if they were stepping into the soft exhalation of a sleeping giant, and heavier, carrying the rich, loamy scent of damp earth that has been left to its own peaceful devices for a very long time. The sound of their own footsteps on the soil seemed to become softer, absorbed by the ground, and the distant call of a lone bird felt cushioned and kindly, a sound wrapped in wool. There, nestled between two ancient moss-covered stones, was the entrance. It was not a gate of wood or iron, but an archway of living willow, its branches woven together in a patient, intricate pattern that spoke of seasons, not hours, of creation. Broad, soft leaves, the color of jade in deep water, formed a lush canopy overhead, and from some of the weaving branches hung clusters of what looked like large, cream-colored flower buds, closed as if in sleep. A sense of profound peace emanated from the archway, a silent, powerful invitation into a world apart. As Rowan stepped through the living gate, the change was complete. The air became thick with the sweet, clean scent of unseen blossoms and something else, a comforting fragrance like warm chamomile tea. It was as if the very atmosphere was a gentle balm. The quality of the light shifted too. The clear sunlight of the world outside was filtered through the dense leaves and the ever-present soft mist that clung to the air, becoming a diffuse, pearlescent glow. It softened all edges and made the colors of the plants seem deeper and more vibrant. Rowan paused just inside the threshold and took a slow, deep breath, feeling the warm, fragrant air fill their lungs. A small, unnoticed tension in their shoulders, a tightness they had carried from their long walk, seemed to simply dissolve, melting away like a snowflake on a warm palm. It was a physical release, a gentle, unspoken welcome from the place itself. They felt their own breathing begin to slow, their heart beat a more languid and steady rhythm, as if already falling into step with the deep, quiet pulse of the garden. Looking ahead, they could see the path continue, winding gently downward into a shallow terrace dale. Along its edges, strange and beautiful flora grew in abundance, and among them, Rowan saw the source of the gentle light they had only just begun to notice. What they had thought were buds were, in fact, flowers, the somnus petals of which they had heard whispers, and they were pulsing with a soft internal luminescence, a slow, rhythmic brightening and dimming, like 100 tiny, sleeping hearts. Each pulse of light seemed to correspond with a soft, almost inaudible hum that was felt more than heard, a low, resonant vibration in the air and in the very ground beneath Rowan's feet. It was the sound of deep, abiding peace, the song of a place entirely content in its own existence. The gentle hum resonated within Rowan's own chest, a soothing thrum that seemed to coax their own body into a state of profound relaxation. There was no need to hurry here. There was, it seemed, all the time in the world. Rowan took a single slow step forward, their boots making barely a sound on the moss-softened earth. The path ahead was bathed in the gentle, rhythmic glow, a welcoming lane of light and shadow that promised only tranquility. The world outside, with its straight lines and sharp noises, already felt like a distant memory, a story read long ago. Here, there was only the soft curve of the path, the warm breath of the air, and the steady, luminous heartbeat of the slumbering apothecary. Chapter 2. The Whispering Herbs and a Quiet Kindness. The path descended in a slow, gentle spiral, each turn revealing a new terrace of wondrous flora. The ground itself felt soft and yielding underfoot, a carpet of thick moss and fallen leaves that had lain undisturbed for ages, muffling every footstep. The air remained wonderfully still, caressing Rowan's skin with a gentle warmth, and the rhythmic pulsing glow of the somnus petals was a constant, reassuring presence, their soft light casting long, slow-moving shadows that danced like gentle dreams upon the leaves. It was on the third terrace that Rowan saw a figure, amidst a patch of tall, feathery plants with leaves of a silvery green. A person was moving with an unhurried grace that seemed to be a part of the garden's own slow rhythm. This, Rowan knew without needing to be told, was Phelan, the caretaker. Phelan was not digging or weeding in any conventional sense, but simply running a hand gently along the tops of the silvery plants, a gesture of quiet affection, as if greeting an old friend. As a soft current of air, a languid zephyr unique to this sheltered place, drifted through the terrace, the silvery leaves stirred. They released a soft, rustling sound, like the turning of pages in a very old, very fine book. With that sound came a scent, a wave of the most comforting fragrance Rowan had ever known. It was the pure, sweet aroma of chamomile, but richer, warmed by the air and deepened with a note of honeyed clover, a scent that spoke of peaceful evenings and untroubled sleep. Phelan turned then, their movements slow and deliberate, and their eyes met Rowan's. There was no surprise in their gaze, only a calm, serene acceptance. Phelan's face was kind, its lines etched not by worry, but by a lifetime of quiet smiles and soft sunlight. They offered a small, gentle nod of welcome, a gesture that conveyed everything that needed to be said. You are welcome here. You are safe. Rest a while. Rowan returned the nod, a feeling of deep, uncomplicated peace settling in their heart. Without a word, Phelan gestured towards a smooth, flat-topped stone that sat beside the path, a natural bench warmed by the garden's own gentle heat. Rowan went and sat, feeling the pleasant warmth seep through their clothes, a comforting sensation that eased the lingering weariness from their travels. Phelan disappeared for a moment behind a curtain of broad, waxy leaves, the sound of their soft movements barely disturbing the quiet. They returned carrying a simple, earthenware mug, its surface warm to the touch. Steam rose from it in a gentle curl, carrying the same warm chamomile fragrance as the whispering herbs. Phelan offered it to Rowan with a quiet smile, their hands steady and their movements full of a gentle, deliberate care. It was a simple offering, a profound act of kindness that needed no language to be understood. Rowan accepted the mug, its warmth spreading through their hands, up their arms, and into their chest. They took a small, tentative sip. The infusion was as gentle as its scent, a liquid warmth that tasted of chamomile, a hint of sweet mint, and the clean, pure flavor of the apothecary's own water. It was a taste of pure tranquility, a drink that seemed to soothe not just the body, but the mind itself. Each sip felt like it was washing away another layer of the world's quiet static. They sat together in a comfortable, shared silence, Rowan sipping the warm infusion, and Phylan standing beside the whispering herbs, one hand resting gently on a smooth, warm stone. The only sounds were the soft, page-turning rustle of the leaves in the warm air and the deep, steady hum of the pulsing, somnus petals. It was a companionship of pure presence, a shared moment of being that was more restorative than any conversation could ever be. Rowan felt a sense of belonging, of having found a place where one could simply be, without expectation or pretense, held in the garden's warm, quiet embrace. Chapter 3. The Pool of Stillness. After the last warm, soothing drop of the herbal infusion was gone, Phylan gave another gentle nod. This one an invitation to follow. Rowan placed the empty mug on the warm stone bench and rose, feeling lighter than before, as if the drink and the shared quiet had unburdened them of a weight they had not known they were carrying. They followed the caretaker down the winding path, deeper into the heart of the tranquil dale, the air growing ever more humid and fragrant. The soft pulsing glow of the somnus petals was now complemented by another source of light, a steady, unwavering luminescence that seemed to be emanating from just around the next bend. It was a soft, silvery white light, and it painted the undersides of the broad, overhanging leaves in gentle strokes. The deep, resonant hum of the garden seemed to grow stronger here, a vibration that Rowan could feel in the soles of their feet, a calming frequency that vibrated in time with a slow, peaceful heartbeat. They rounded a cluster of giant ferns, their fronds unfurling in perfect, gentle spirals, and the source of the light was revealed. It was a pool, perfectly circular, and nestled in a basin of smooth, dark stone that looked as though it had been polished by time itself. The water within it did not sparkle or reflect the sky. Instead, the light came from within the water itself. It was a liquid light, a viscous, silvery substance that swirled in slow, mesmerizing patterns, as if the pool were dreaming. The air around the pool was wonderfully warm and smelled cleanly of hot stones and fresh, pure water. There were no ripples on the surface, only the thick, languid movement of the light within it. It shifted and coiled like slow-motion smoke, a constant, silent dance of soft luminescence. Phylan gestured towards the pool's edge, an invitation to come closer, their expression one of serene wonder, as if seeing it for the 100th time was as magical as seeing it for the first. Rowan knelt at the edge of the basin, the stone warm and smooth beneath their knees. They gazed into the depths, watching the light swirl and eddy around glowing mineral deposits that lay like sleeping stars at the bottom of the pool. The sight was utterly hypnotic, drawing the mind into its slow, ceaseless motion and hushing all thoughts. It was impossible to hold on to a worry or a stray thought while watching the gentle, inevitable flow of the light. Hesitantly, Rowan reached out a hand and dipped their fingers into the water. The sensation was extraordinary. The water was as warm as a summer evening and felt impossibly soft and heavy, like liquid silk. It clung to their skin, and when they lifted their hand, the water did not drip away, but seemed to reluctantly release its hold, leaving behind a faint, shimmering coat of light that glowed for a moment before gently fading into nothing. The most profound effect, however, was on the mind. The moment their skin touched the water, a wave of absolute, profound quiet washed over Rowan's thoughts. It was not an emptiness, but a perfect stillness, a sense of pure, untroubled presence. The quiet hum of the world outside their own mind, which they had carried for so long, simply ceased. There was only the warmth of the stone, the soft feel of the water, and the gentle, mesmerizing dance of the light. Rowan trailed their fingers through the pool, watching the liquid light swirl and part around their hand, creating slow, beautiful eddies that caught and refracted the internal glow. They could have stayed there for an eternity, lost in the simple, perfect sensation of the moment. It was a baptism of tranquility, a washing away of all that was hurried or complex, leaving behind only a core of pure, simple peace. Phelan stood nearby, a silent, reassuring guardian of this sacred space. They watched Rowan with a look of gentle understanding, knowing the profound rest that the pool of stillness offered. There was no magic here of command or power, only the gentle, emergent magic of the earth itself, offering its quietest, most peaceful heart to any who were patient enough to find it. The pool asked for nothing, only to be experienced, to be felt, to be allowed to share its deep, abiding calm. Chapter 4. The Conservatory of Drifting Light. The feeling of deep, mental quiet lingered with Rowan long after they drew their hand from the pool of stillness. It was a soft, comforting blanket around their thoughts, muffling the edges of the world. Phelan, sensing the perfect moment, beckoned Rowan to follow once more, leading them away from the pool and towards a small dome-like structure nestled against a warm stone cliff face. It was a conservatory, its panes of glass warmed and slightly opaque with condensation, its wooden frame entwined with softly glowing moss. The door opened with a soft sigh, not a creak, and Phelan led Rowan inside. The air within was even warmer and more humid than the garden, thick with the rich, loamy scent of fertile earth and ancient, growing things. There were no distinct flowers here, but rather magnificent, fungal-like plants that grew in great shelf-like tiers upon weathered logs. Their broad, velvety caps were the color of twilight, a deep, dusky purple, and their undersides were a pale, creamy white. And from these undersides, a silent, breathtaking marvel was occurring. The plants were continuously releasing a cascade of tiny, microscopic spores into the still, warm air. These spores were naturally phosphorescent, catching the ambient warmth and the gentle light filtering through the glass, and they glowed with a soft golden radiance. They were so impossibly light that they did not fall, but drifted, suspended in the air, creating a constant, slow-moving nebula of tiny, shining motes. Rowan stood just inside the doorway, utterly captivated. It was like standing inside a captured galaxy. or a snow globe filled with silent golden light. The spores drifted on imperceptible currents of air, swirling in gentle hypnotic patterns, creating rivers and eddies of light that flowed through the quiet space. There was absolutely no sound but the soft, steady rhythm of Rowan's own now languid breathing. Phelan guided Rowan to a simple, smooth wooden bench that sat in the center of the conservatory. It was worn smooth from untold years of use, a silent testament to how many had sat here before, finding peace in this very spot. Rowan sat, the wood of the bench warm against their skin, and simply watched. Their gaze followed a single, glowing spore as it drifted lazily past, then another and another, until their focus softened, and they were simply observing the whole beautiful, silent dance. Their thoughts, already quieted by the pool of stillness, slowed even further, until they seemed to drift as gently and aimlessly as the spores themselves. There was no need to think, no need to analyze or understand. The purpose of this place was simply to be, to sit, to watch, to breathe the warm, earthy air and be enveloped by the silent, mesmerizing spectacle of drifting light. Phelan sat for a moment at the other end of the bench, a quiet companion in observation. After a time, they rose with their customary silent grace and began to move through the conservatory, gently wiping condensation from the broad leaves of other plants with a soft cloth. Their movements were so slow and integrated into the scene that they became just another part of the peaceful tableau, like a cloud drifting slowly across a quiet sky. Rowan felt a profound sense of safety and contentment wash over them. This small, warm dome felt like the safest place in the world, a womb of peace insulated from all else. The slow, constant, silent motion of the glowing spores was the most restful thing they had ever witnessed. It was a visual lullaby, a spectacle that asked nothing of the viewer but to be present. In that simple act of being, a deep, restorative healing was taking place, a gentle mending of the spirit's quiet, unseen, frayed edges. They sat for a time that had no measure, not long or short, just a perfect suspended present. The light spores continued their silent, endless ballet, some drifting close enough to settle like a speck of golden dust on Rowan's sleeve before their light gently faded. There was a place of gentle oblivion, where the weight of memory and the pull of the future simply ceased to exist, leaving only the profound peace of the here and now. Chapter 5. A Rest Deeply Earned. Leaving the warm, drifting light of the conservatory felt like waking from the softest of dreams, yet the dream's profound calm clung to Rowan like a warm cloak. The world of the garden seemed even more peaceful now, its colors richer, its textures softer. Phelan led them one last time, not down a path, but to a small, secluded alcove carved naturally into the hillside, a private nook sheltered by the low, sweeping branches of an ancient, feathery tree. Here, in this sheltered space, was the most inviting bed Rowan had ever seen. It was not a bed of wood and linen, but a thick, living carpet of the deepest, softest moss, its surface 100 shades of gentle green. It grew in a perfect, body-sized hollow next to a large, flat-topped boulder that was radiating a steady, gentle warmth, a natural hearthstone that had been soaking in the apothecary's geothermal heat for centuries. Phylan simply gestured to the mossy bed with a soft smile, an unspoken offering of ultimate rest. There was no need for words. The entire journey through the apothecary, from the whispering herbs to the pool of light to the drifting spores, had been a preparation for this moment. It was a gradual slowing, a gentle unwinding, a careful and kind invitation to finally, truly let go. Rowan gave Phylan a look of deepest gratitude, a thank you that held the weight of all the peace they had found here. With a final serene nod, Phylan turned and walked away with their silent, graceful tread, disappearing back into the gentle glow of the gardens, leaving Rowan to their rest. The sense of being alone was not one of loneliness, but of perfect privacy and safety. Rowan knelt and pressed a hand into the moss. It was cool and soft on the surface, but wonderfully warm beneath, and it yielded like the most luxurious cushion, springing back gently around their fingers. Rowan settled themselves down into the mossy hollow, their body fitting into it as if it were made just for them. The gentle warmth from the nearby stone seeped into their back, a deep, penetrating comfort that eased the last vestiges of any physical tension. They lay their head back, the moss a perfect pillow, and gazed up through the feathery branches of the tree at the soft, pearlescent sky of the dale. The sensory tapestry of the apothecary wrapped around them like the softest of blankets. They could hear the distant, steady, resonant hum of the somnus petals, a rhythmic lullaby that seemed to be the very heartbeat of this place. They could smell the sweet, clean scent of the damp earth, the lingering fragrance of chamomile on the air, and the unique, stony perfume of the warm boulder. The air itself felt soft against their skin, a gentle, constant caress. Rowan's eyes grew heavy. They watched a single broad leaf drift slowly down from the tree above, spiraling in the still air before coming to rest gently on the ground. Their breathing was slow and deep now, effortless, falling into the same peaceful rhythm as the pulsing light of the flowers. A profound sense of peace, a feeling of being completely and utterly held, settled over them. They were not just in the apothecary. They felt they were a part of it. Their own quiet presence was now woven into its fabric, just like the moss, the stones, and the light. The quiet of the garden had seeped into their very bones. There were no thoughts left to think, only the gentle, overwhelming sensation of peace. With a final soft exhalation, a sigh of pure contentment, Rowan's eyes drifted closed, and they surrendered to a rest deeper and more restorative than any they had ever known, held safely in the warm, slumbering embrace of the garden.